And I like to start with the usual stuff, like your name and spell it in your title.
Sure.
Get somebody to done that.
Yeah, no, it's Jim Snowden, Jimsnowden, and I'm Senior Director of Engineering and Public Works for Knox County.
So tell me about what you all, how your day progressed this morning.
Had an early morning this morning, brought crews in at 4 a.m. So they've been staged out in the district since about 4:30. Snow started falling somewhere in that time frame. It's kind of tapered off now, but we did have some slushy conditions. We did put down a little bit of salt. We did plow a couple of roads up in the Powell and Halls community. But for the most part, most of our main roads are in pretty good shape. Would advise, that there's still some isolated spots out there. The guys are working on those. And just let everybody know if they see anything, please feel free to call our office. We'll be here most likely through the evening to ensure that these roads get back in good condition.
Did you have any kind of major issues this morning?
Not really. Like I said, most of it was just really being prepared. We applied brine yesterday on all our primary and secondary streets, and then some of the roads we weren't able to get brine that were maybe hilly and one-way ins. We did do some salt application this morning, but for the most part, we've seen not too many challenges so far.
So the snow is tapering off, and now we're going to get into the colder weather with the melting in ice and melting in ice. So, do you guys have any kind of a game plan for when that happens?
For sure, and that's one of our bigger worries is, tonight when it does get so cold, they're talking in the teens and maybe even single digits. Some of the things that we apply, like salt, it has a limited effectiveness below, when you get to those kind of temperatures. So we'll still be out, we'll still be applying salt in those areas. But yeah, certainly be on the watch for areas where it's really shaded, there's not much traffic and things like that, because we do anticipate some isolated spots still being out there. But like I said, we will be out pretty much mostly all night, I would assume, trying to get those areas back in shape so that hopefully folks can go back to school and work tomorrow.
Mike told us that you guys were here working on Monday to prepare for today. So when did the prep start, and what did you guys do that day?
Sure. We started Monday morning and worked. That was actually, holiday for us, so our guys were working on President's Day. We applied Monday and Tuesday, we applied about 68,000 gallons of brine to, like I said, most of our primary and most of our secondary streets and problematic areas. So hopefully what you'll see now is the areas where that street is wet or it has some slush on it, that's that brine, that residual on the pavement that is, preventing that what has fell from freezing. So hopefully that proactive approach has hopefully done us a lot of good work so far.
And I know city roads were all treated and taken care of, but those, back roads, those neighborhoods, when can people in those areas kind of expect to be able to drive on the road?
Sure, and right now we're working on some of those, obviously now that our primary roads are in good shape. If anybody has any specific locations, please let us know. We'll be happy to come and get those. But we'll be working on those throughout the day. And if, like I said, there's any particular spots, just feel free to call our office at 215-5800, and we'll be happy to come out and look at those.
And then focusing on that refreeze that we're kind of expecting, I mean, you guys are preparing for it, but what can drivers know, or people in the community know to kind of prepare for it as well?
Sure. I mean, because, that black ice is just that, you can't really see it. So just be very cautious out there, especially in areas where, it's very tree lined and there's not been many cars on it. Those are always locations where you just, they're going to be problematic. And we'll be obviously we watch out for those spots. We know a lot of those trouble spots too, so we'll try to get there. But, like I said, with salt's effectiveness does really diminish below 10 degrees. So even with our best efforts, there still may be some spots out there that could be kind of tricky.
When it comes to those tricky spots, I mean, when, salt doesn't work anymore, what do people do?
That's a tough spot. One of the things that what we do is when we do put down that salt oftentimes won't melt because it is so cold. It will then create, the granularity of the salt will at least give some traction, and that is something that does provide some assistance. And obviously we'll continue to apply that salt because enough of it will then create that melting process, but it is a challenge for us during those real cold temperatures.
Jim, what temperature point does the salt not be effective in melting?
It really starts getting very much ineffective below 15 degrees. It works, but it works really, really slow. Whereas, you know, if it's 25 degrees and you apply salt, you can pretty much see it melt pretty much simultaneously. But if it's 15 degrees, it's going to really slow down that chemical process. Now, we do have one of the things that you mentioned. We do put calcium chloride on our salt when it gets really cold. That does allow for that salt or even brine solution to get a little bit, to drop that freezing point even lower than 15 degrees. So that is one of the other things we'll do this evening as well, depending on the temperature.
So that's your game plan for, because we're expecting some bitter cold weather on the back end of this. So.
Correct. Yeah. So what salt we put down at those temperatures would be mixed with a calcium chloride solution that then does drop that temperature effectiveness.
Do you guys feel like you're getting better and better at the snow response after all these recent snow events we've had the past year or so?
I think I would like to think so. I think we did make some process improvements. You know, we had a really big snow last year, and we obviously took that as an event to try to, you know, learn from some of the things we didn't do as well as we should have. And I think we're being much better about being proactive. I think we had a lot of folks tell us that, you know, the streets that they live on are now getting pre-treated that they didn't. And that's because us looking for problematic spots. You know, it may be a residential street like you had mentioned, but that residential street is steep and you're only one way in and one way out. So we want to get to that street because that is the only way those folks can get in and out. So I think just, you know, some of the technology we have with GIS mapping has allowed us to be a little more proactive.
And with those recent storms, I mean, like she mentioned, I mean, going forward, how has it been for your crews? I mean, obviously these guys are working so hard. How has it been for them, you know, compared to other storms we've had in the past couple of months?
It's just not been fun for these guys, you know. I mean, everybody else, when it snows, it's a fun, enjoyable time for their families. Most of our guys, you know, they don't ever get to see their kids play in the snow, and that's something that's kind of sad, and I hate that. But you know, these guys come in without complaint and really just jump in there. And like I said, been at work since 4 this morning, and a good chance some of them may have to stay here tonight. And they, you know, they just realize that's part of their job, and they want to, you know, do as best job as they can. So really give these guys the thanks, because, you know, oftentimes I'll get the credit, but they're the ones out there actually doing the hard work every day for us.
So, and Jim, so with these guys working these long hours, and it's like they're here, like when everybody else is asleep, and they're out all hours of the night. How do you take care of them so that they don't get exhausted and,
for sure,
God forbid, have some kind of an injury?
For sure, and that's something we learned a little bit with these. You know, most of our snows are typically gone, you know, within 12, 18 hours. So, but the last snow we had, we had folks here for a couple of days. So what we've actually done is, you know, worked with the health department and some other agencies that have some space around here, bought some cots and things like that, so that when we do have to folks stay over, they can at least get some rest here. Certainly, we don't want those kind of events to occur, but when they do occur, we have made some accommodations for those guys to be able to at least rest a little more comfortably here, rather than sleeping in trucks and things like that. That when I first came here, that was pretty much commonplace, and you know, these guys are already away from home. We want to try to make their stay as comfortable as we can. We obviously will buy them, you know, lunches and dinners and things like that, and try to provide as much support as we can.
And for those people that might be on roads a little further out, you know, with the refreeze coming in, what can they do if their roads aren't being pre-treated, or, you know, expected to be treated?
For sure, if you see some snow or slush still on your roadway, let us know today. I mean, we'll be out all day with all our crews, and we can get in there with a snow plow and clip that off, and then put some salt on it, so that way that what is on the road now today won't refreeze tonight. So really just advise folks, you know, we have a big roadway system. We have about 1,800 miles of road, and we have total of about 30 trucks. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of roads that we can't get to, but if there is a specific concern, let us know, and we will get there and get that location treated for you.
And I wanted to ask, I mean, we've been talking a little bit about potholes just because it is that time of year with the freeze. What is the concern there when it comes to the refreeze and then afterwards?
That is the remedy for a pothole, because asphalt pavement is a flexible material, and as it cracks, water gets in, it freezes and thaws, and it busts up that asphalt surface. And that was one of the things we did Monday. In addition to having crews out, you know, applying brine, we actually have an asphalt patch crew. They worked all day, because if you look at our work order system, I mean, we have more pothole requests now than we do throughout the entire year. And you're exactly right. After this salt and all this that we're going to put on these roads, the next few days are going to be really rough for potholes. And that crew will be extremely busy. And feel free to call us and let us know, because oftentimes if we don't know with that large road network, we may not be able to identify that pothole. So we certainly encourage folks to let us know when they see something that may be an issue for them.
And what's the easiest way for them to let you know? Just call.
They can call 215-5800. That number has someone that answers 24/7. So even if you see that pothole in the middle of the night, give us a call. And matter of fact, we dispatched someone last night in the middle of the night to get a pothole because we were concerned it might be a challenge for drivers in the morning.
Is there anything else that we might have missed that you might want to cover?
No, I just think really I appreciate you guys highlighting the guys' time. I mean, these guys, they never get to play with their kids in the snow. They do good work. It's kind of unrecognized oftentimes, and just really want to, give those guys a lot of credit, because they do really good work, and really in less than ideal conditions, because when everybody else don't want to get out because they're, concerned for their safety, these are the guys that are out there every day. So just really like to reiterate that.